Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Nestor, President and CEO of Lehigh Valley Health Network. I'd like to welcome everyone who's joining us today virtually. Although I wish I could see your faces, we all know that social distancing right now is a very important measure for the health of our community. In July of 2018, we announced plans to expand the Lehigh Valley Hospital Cedar Crest Emergency Department. At that time, we had no idea that a pandemic would hit. But what we did know is that our community deserves convenient access to quality emergency care. Not only care that is efficient and advanced, but warm and compassionate. More than 90,000 people visit the Lehigh Valley Hospital Cedar Crest ER every year. That's a significant number, and it means a great deal to us that during the scariest and most stressful moments of your lives, you turn to Lehigh Valley Health Network. As part of our mission to heal, comfort, and care for our community, it's our responsibility also to grow, to make care more convenient, more efficient, and more compassionate. We prepare for the unexpected. We adapt to our community's needs. This facility embodies all the things that our community deserves. It not only provides an additional element of preparedness during the COVID-19 pandemic, it offers life-saving care when it's needed. The expansion has two phases. Today, we're celebrating the completion of phase one, the adult emergency room that is not only newer and larger, much larger, it's smarter. Phase two of the project is the expansion of our dedicated children's ER. You can expect to see that portion of the facility completed this coming summer in 2021. In the meantime, we're continuing to care for kids just like we always have. We would like to thank our elected officials and Salisbury Township planning and zoning officials for their ongoing support. Thank you to Whiting Turner and all of our construction partners, including the Pidcock Company and Erdman Schlage Incorporated. We'd also like to thank the LVHN Board of Trustees. This project simply couldn't have been completed without the help and support of each one of these very special groups of people. During this season of giving, this facility is our gift to the community. It's the product of an immense amount of planning and coordination. Today, we'll cut the ribbon on this facility and give you a virtual tour. But first, I'd like to introduce Bill Kent, President of Lehigh Valley Hospital, to speak about how this ER will take the high-quality care you already receive at Lehigh Valley Hospital to new heights. Bill.
Thank you, Dr. Nestor. Just by looking at this building, you can tell it's extremely large. In fact, it's the largest and most advanced emergency room in the state. However, that's not the only reason it's unique. We put careful thought into creating a comfortable, safe, and welcoming and warm environment. So you're probably thinking, what does it take to put a project of this magnitude together? In addition to consulting groups of people like our community EMS partners and different specialties within the hospital, including cardiology, neurology, with our facilities team, construction, food services, housekeeping, and countless others. The adult ER that we're in today adds 130,000 square feet to the Lehigh Valley Cedar Crest campus. And the new children's ER that will open later this summer will add an additional 30,000 square feet. This project took 700 tons of steel, approximately 5,500 cubic yards of concrete, 55 tons of ductwork, 4.5 miles of medical gas piping, and about 18,000 sheets of drywall were hung inside. The building is 650 feet long with a roof that is about 3 acres in size. Those are some fun facts about the facility itself, but everyone knows that during an emergency, it's the unquantifiable aspects of care that matter most. It's the expertise, the comfort and compassion of our caregivers. While the advanced technology available here supplements our team's expertise and the relaxing setting adds to the comfort and compassion that our team provides, We are most proud of our frontline heroes and caregivers who continue to amaze us each and every day. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. David Burmeister, Lehigh Valley Health Network Chair of the Department of Emergency Medicine and Hospital Medicine, to provide an overview of the services in this beautiful new emergency department. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Dr. Nestor. As mentioned before, this ER was designed to deliver efficient care in a welcoming, safe, and comfortable environment. It includes almost triple the number of available adult beds than our former ER had. The Mattioli Trauma Center includes 3 trauma bays with the ability to expand to 4 in the future, and has a dedicated operating procedure room for immediate life-saving care. This facility has its own centralized diagnostic testing equipment, including dedicated CT and MRI services, its own full-service laboratory, an inpatient pediatric pharmacy, cardiac testing, physical therapy, dedicated critical care space, and a designated space for behavioral health services. It really is so much more than an ER. For patients who need additional care but do not require an inpatient hospital stay, this facility has a 35-bed observation unit. It provides ultimate flexibility for the coordination of care our patients deserve. The emergency room is made up of pods. As volumes fluctuate and patients come in and patients leave, the pods can be opened and closed to ensure patients receive care as efficiently as possible. Both the emergency room and the observation unit have their own covered entrances, exits, and spacious waiting rooms, with food service available to families and visitors. As Dr. Nestor mentioned, the planning for this ER began long before the pandemic hit, but we still have special considerations put in place to make it an even safer place to be. We've enhanced the air circulation to increase air exchanges throughout the entire facility. We've added multiple private negative pressure rooms for our patients. The increased space in the waiting room allows for greater social distancing. The pod structure I mentioned will allow us to divide patients to help prevent the spread of viruses like coronavirus. And certainly, with the increased number of private rooms, we are even more prepared in the future in the event of a surge of COVID-19. Every detail has been thought of to provide the highest level of care possible to our community. Now, we will cut the ribbon to officially open the new ER, and what a proud moment it is for us and for everybody around this community. Once we finish, I encourage you to continue watching this Facebook Live for a live virtual tour of the ER. We encourage you to ask questions as we go, and we will answer as many as possible. So let's get to the ribbon cutting. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. So now we want to do a virtual tour with everybody. We're going to walk through the facility, so we might as well get started. So we're going to, first of all, pan around here. I want to show everybody what this waiting room looks like. You saw a little portion of it here during our presentation. But if you pan here to your right, you'll see here there's a wall. That wall is a temporary wall. That will actually be the connection to the children's ER waiting area. So all of it will be connected so that you can walk back and forth through the children's ER entrance and the adult ER entrance. And you can see here on the left too, you actually have a cafe. That's where the cafe is located, conveniently located so that all of our families and all of the visitors can have access to that service. If you pan around here, I want to show you the rest of the waiting area. And you can see here where we have lots of area for people to be socially distanced so that we're protecting everybody as much as we possibly can. We'll be able to communicate with patients and their families electronically through text as well as through discussion with them as well. This is the entrance where all of our adult patients will walk into the emergency department. We will talk a little bit about what's going to happen with EMS as we move through. what I want to do is I'm going to walk you in as a patient. So if you're a patient, the first thing you see when you walk in to this facility is our staff. We have a triage nurse here, we have tech partners, we have infrastructure security and others right here available to you. So it's very, very clear about where you go. Once you've given some introduction information, we'll walk into triage. As you keep walking through, you can go into one of the 4 triage areas that we have. Again, very private for patients. So once you come in, there's no visualization of you as you come in here and talk to the nursing staff. So the nursing staff will be able to get the information they need, get the vital signs that they need, and then decide where is the best place in the ER for you to go. And so as you come out here, you'll get directed to each position that you need to. If you look here to the left, this is the lower acuity area, meaning that where you don't have care quite as serious. So bumps, bruises, sprains, strains, fractures, lacerations, things like that would be taken care of in this area. This is an 8-bed pod. Again, very efficient so that it's very close to the entrance and we can get you the care that you need very quickly and efficiently. As you walk here to the right, again, these are the back parts of the triage rooms. You enter through the front and then you move out through the back. This area here on the left is what we call the air traffic control area of our emergency department. This is where the charge nurse, one of the most important people within the entire facility, will be able to direct traffic. So this person can actually see everything coming in that's walking in, because of course, as you know, we get strokes and heart attacks that actually walk into the emergency department. And then in front of that person, you can see where the EMS providers come into the facility. We're going to walk back a little bit farther here. There will be people, again, we're doing tours and people walking through the facility as we go. So I just want to make sure that you realize that. And this is the hall that they'll come through. We have respiratory therapy here. We have MRI here. As I've mentioned, it's very unusual to have an acute care facility like this having its own MRI dedicated. This is where it's located. Again, very centrally located so it can be as efficient as possible for our patients. As you keep walking here, you come close to where the EMS entrance is. As you can see, it's very close to the PD and very close to the trauma area, which I'll show you here in a moment. This is the entrance of where our EMS providers, our incredible colleagues and teammates every single day work. Lindsay will stand up on top. I want to show you where the helipad is. This is the helipad. The helipad is extremely unique as it has 2 places for helicopters to park. So when one helicopter comes in, it can move over to the parking space so the next one can come in all simultaneously. It has its own fire suppression system as well as its own fueling source as well, which is, again, very uncommon. As our EMS providers come in, there are 12 spots here for them to be able to park and another 10 places for them to park down here on the other end, very close to the entrance, of course. When you walk in, you can see a discussion board. This will tell them, a track board, where they'll tell them where they need to go as far as what room, as it'll be assigned before they get here to the emergency department. They either take a left to trauma or they take a right to the ED. Taking a left to the trauma unit, very efficiently located close to the entrance. They will come through this area here. We're going to walk through here. And you can see here, this is where the medevac helicopters are. Come down through the elevator, so that's very close to the trauma bay. And then you turn right around, you come right into the trauma bay. This is the trauma bay. So you can see very large spaces so that our teams can get here and be able to do what they need to be able to take care of our patients as quickly as possible. There are 3 bays here, and again, an ability to make a 4th in the future. If you pan across here, you can see here, this is our emergent operating procedure room where we can perform any type of procedure that we need to on any type of trauma patient. Again, has its own operating infrastructure within this facility itself. This area here is where our staff will be able to document what they need to be able to make sure they get the proper diagnostic testing, and of course medications and everything available right here within the room. There's no movement, it's right here, very efficiently placed. As we walk through here in a semicircular area and you come out this door, this is where our EMS providers have their own space. So this little wing, EMS wing, is where they will come to be able to go into the EMS lounge to get what they need, to get the meds they need, to get the linens they need, and everything else as far as what they need from an information perspective. This is where they can wash their boards, and again, as you can see, entrance, very close, semicircular, very efficient for them, as we know that they're extremely busy out there taking care of our community. As you keep walking, again, we'll recap MRI, again, very close. You walk into the rest of the emergency department, and this takes us back into the ER.
Dr. Burmeister, could you just reiterate which LVHN facility this is at and in what city?
This is at Cedar Crest in Allentown, South Ferry Township. This is decontamination. Decontamination can be entered from the outside, of course. Those patients and EMS providers would bring those patients in, they would get decontaminated, and then they can move out. So there are two areas for decontamination as well. They would either go into the emergency department or they would go back to the trauma bay. Again, this is where the charge nurse is. The charge nurse can tell where to go as we move along. You can see here a CAT scan available right in the middle of this ED, and then you can see x-rays right down the hallway there. Thank you. This is a space for a second CAT scanner. As we know, as volumes change and the acuity of our patients change, we'll need another at some point. This is where that would be. So we built that space within the facility to make sure that we were, again, planning for the future, which is obviously key for all of us. As we move into this area here, this is our critical care area. This is where the sickest patients will come. This is where our strokes, our heart attacks, and other patients will come. As you can see, it's very close to the entrance where our EMS providers come in. These rooms are much larger than a typical emergency department room, as you can see in this one, how large it is, so that we can do procedures and other things that we need to. This is the critical care unit, which consists of 9 beds, again, all larger than the typical ER room, and I'm going to show you a little bit as far as details on what those rooms look like. This is where the physician documents, this is where all of our other staff, our nursing staff, our APs, our tech partners, everybody stays together as a team. Again, socially distant. When we walk out of the critical care area and move to the left, I'm going to show you what's called the Emergency Behavioral Health Unit. The Emergency Behavioral Health Unit, you come through this area here, you can see the center.
Yeah, and then the line.
Again, the key here is to keep our patients in an environment that is not like the typical emergency room. So here there are 6 beds where our patients can be, they can have an open area where they can move around. And certainly really important for some of our sickest patients and our emergency behavioral health patients are our sickest patients. As you move through here, come through, this is where our staff will be. You can see some of our great colleagues are in here today already. Hi, everybody. How are you?
Good, thank you.
And you can see how we have cameras in the corner here so that we can monitor everything that's happening in the Emergency Behavioral Health Unit. And our staff are obviously in a great place for that vantage point. As we move out of the EBH, again back, you can see that it's very closely connected to everything. And you'll walk down the hallway, and I'm going to show you the acute care lab. So this facility has its own lab. So it's a highly functioning lab. It's not a point-of-care type lab. It's actually does all the really important labs that we need to get done in an emergency situation and an observation unit perspective as well. Again, something that's not seen really anywhere.
Dr. Burmeister, while we're walking, what's the plan for the existing ER?
So the existing ER will become the children's ER. As Dr. Nestor mentioned, in May and June, we will be opening up the children's ER, and that will get renovated and changed into that. It will be double its current size. We'll go from 12 beds to 27 beds, and so that's what will be utilized in that space. If you look here to the right, you can see the acute care lab. This is what it looks like. As you can see, it's a very highly functioning lab, and it's very close and centralized to connection to the observation unit and also the emergency department as well. To the right is observation. As we come here, we can see patient transport, which is extremely vital for us to be able to get our patients and move our patients as quickly as possible within the organization and within our pavilion here. this facility. Over here to the left, we have our cardiology suite where we can get diagnostic testing done. Echocardiograms can be performed here, transesophageal echocardiograms, as well as stress testing. Here to the right is physical therapy. We have physical therapy available to us as well for our observation patients and our emergency department patients. I'm going to just use mine, just in case. And this is observation. This is the observation unit. Now, one of the ways we built this facility was to make sure that whether it was observation or emergency medicine, that we could use these beds flexibly. So really important for us to build them very similarly in a way that we could utilize them depending on surges and patient volume, as I mentioned before. If you look here, you can see the row of beds that we have. Hello, Liz, how are you? Nice to see you. Liz is our Director of Observation Services. And this is exactly where we place many of our patients who aren't quite ready to go home but don't need an inpatient stay. And so that's really important for people to keep in mind. And Liz, you can get a pan of everything. This is a 35-bed unit. Again, many of these rooms have their own private bathroom. And then you can see what kind of flexibility that it gives us to be able to flex up and flex down depending upon volume. I'm going to walk through here. Each one of these pods, per se, remember I talked about the pod concept? Each one of these pods have a larger room too for those that are sicker. So that's important. And again, remember, important for us to be able to move into this space if we need to for surges in volume.
Dr. Burmeister, how long did this entire project take?
So the entire project took about 20 months to build. Once the first part, once we started to get the site cleared. But the planning took, 3 years. Yeah, at least 3 years to really from the beginning and conceptualization. As you can imagine, we needed to change and tweak things along the way. A lot's happened in 3 years, so we made changes along the way as well. Again, one of the most important things for us as a team, and we had teams of people working on this from all across the network, was to make sure that we put our feet in the shoes of our patients to try to understand, well, how would it be more convenient for them? How would it be better for them? How would we be able to get more efficient care for them? All those things were considered every step of the way. And so we made lots of changes, and I'm sure our facilities and construction folks were pulling their hair out at some points, but boy, did they do an incredible job at really changing things so that we could be as patient-centered as possible. We're going to move now across the hallway. I got to keep remembering to use my ID. This is the long hallway and corridor that people will walk through as far as staff goes. They walk in, they go to the right to the ED, they go to the left for observation. Now the ER is about 2 times the size of observation, if not a little bit more. As we walk into the side of the ER, I know you saw some already, you saw the critical care area. Now I'm bringing you in through the side. And this gives you a good picture and idea of really the size of the emergency department and the importance of how flexible that we've made this space. So I'm going to show you what a pod looks like. But Lindsay, I'm going to have you pan down here first just to show that how these pods are connected and how we can actually separate patients too as well at the same time. So this is a room of 2 different pods of 12 patients in a pod. As you look to the right, again, another set of 2 pods with 12 patients available to be in. And this is a pod, a typical pod. It'll be a good idea of what all of them look like because we made them basically all the same outside the critical care area. Each pod has a section here for physicians and nursing staff to be in a private area so they can document and talk about very sensitive private patient information. You can see here that this is the work area, the care area where all of our care providers will be, our nursing staff, our tech partners, as well as our APs will be together. You can see how each room is able to be seen and visualized by this area. So if you're a physician and seeing patients, you can see basically into every single room from inside of this space. Again, another thing that was really important for us. All of the nursing staff can also see these patients and help each other as we go along. If we walk to this side, I'm going to show you a little bit about what's inside of a room. And this is where we talk about technology and advancement in technology. Every single room has its own video connection through iPad. Also, what you don't see in this is that we have built an infrastructure to basically be able to put cameras in every single room in this facility. That is a major upgrade for anybody in any facility in healthcare. But at the same time, we can use iPad technology for every room, and it has availability as well. As you move over here, I'm going to show you also in each pod, every pod, there's a large room. This is a room that is utilized. Of course, you know we have the critical care area, but we also have in every pod, we have one room that is larger than the rest of the rooms. And it's really, really important for us to show you this because it has its own bathroom. It's able to be utilized for the sicker patients that can't be in the critical care area. And this is really vital for us to be able to, again, visualize this very completely. And you can see, again, iPad technology in every single room.
Dr. Burmeister, question about the iPads. Who
Yes,
will
sir.
patients connect to on those iPads?
They connect to the provider. So they can actually connect to any of the ER providers. They can connect to the nursing staff. They can also connect to our specialists, so our hospital medicine providers who do the admissions, as well as any other specialists that they may need. As we walk through, we try to put some more calming art, of course, in some of these areas. As you know, emergency departments can be stressful and difficult to be in, but certainly was important. So Lindsay is panning up and back now and can see the scope of this and how much flexibility this gives us as we move along here. And so this is only half of the emergency department. So as we move over across the hallway, I want to point this out too, Lindsay, really quickly, if that's okay. This is a tube station, so every area within this facility has a tube station. So we can actually get lab work to our acute care lab, we can get to our pharmacies, we can get to all kinds of different areas within the organization through this tube system. This is another half of the emergency department. And you can see how, again, expansive it is and how flexible it is. Each pod is built the same. Each pod has its own kind of different color. And so we know that it's a large space. We know that we want to be able to find our way. So each one of the rooms are uniquely numbered as they go along. And then at the same time, they're all color coded. So each pod has got a color code. So another way that we've tried to identify each pod for our providers as well as our patients and families. Oh, a baby's being born. So that's this side, and you can come over here and see the other side. Now, you're probably wondering what are we going to do with our children's space, because we're going to actually vacate the current children's ER and the adult ER, do the renovation that we need to be done in that space. They will be located in this acute care pavilion. So they will actually be located in this pod specifically. This is called pod 4. And that's where they'll be located. We'll be able to bring them in efficiently and out efficiently and be discharged efficiently. As you can see, there's a door, there are double doors right here to get us back out into the waiting area. So again, we've thought about this so much, and there have been tons and tons of groups working together from all kinds of different specialties and all kinds of different parts of the organization to make this as patient-centered as we possibly could. Now as we walk through it, through the middle, we come back out into the waiting area. So I just want to point out here, if you look to the right and to the left, this spans the entire length of the building, so that it's quiet for families if they want, and they're waiting for their provider, or their patients and their loved ones. They have a place to come where they can be, and they can be quiet and private. And so there are multiple places along this way. We have nice, beautiful local art that has been procured by our team. We also have in every area, there are places to be able to, charge your iPhone, iPad, whatever it might, your computer, whatever that might be, along the entire stretch of this facility. You can see there's natural light as well, which is, again, really vital for us. Because sometimes when you're in the ER, you feel like you're kind of just confined. This opens things up for families and for patients as well as any visitors that might come. We understand we're in COVID right now, so the visitation is very extremely difficult and limited, but we're going to get through this, so it's going to change in the future. Again, an area here where you could bring your computer, do the work that you need to do, staying socially distant at the same time. And as we come back through the back, this is really back to where we started. And these, I want to point out these boards here, right here. This is where we will communicate with our patients. There will be a specific patient identifier that is obviously anonymous, but the patient will know so that we can communicate when they're ready to be seen, if they're waiting. And so that's really important for us to have an electronic way to be able to communicate with you, whether that's through text, whether that's through the board, or whether that's through us making sure we know where you're at so we can come and let you know when your time's time to see. As we come back through, we're basically right here where we start, and back to where we feel comfort and care for our community, which is LVHN's core values. Any other questions?
We'll take a second to see if any come through. One we have is this: would you highlight some of the patient experience features of the new facility?
Yeah, the patient experience features are many. Many of them wrap around efficiency of the patient and then the patient flow. A lot of it is the openness, the ability to be able to get the cafe available to them and their families, of course, the communication changes we made, as well as making sure that video technology was available, but not just available, but to be able to be used easily, which is important. We learned that through the first wave of COVID. We had iPad technology, but we didn't necessarily make it easy for everybody to use because it was hard. We did it within a couple weeks. So we really thought very, very hard about how we would make it better. We put bathrooms very close and convenient to patients, so they wouldn't have to be walking very far. We put many rooms that have their own bathrooms too as well. We made rooms larger, and we also have efficiency care for the sick patients that come. Talk about being patient-centered and patient experience. That experience for them will be entirely different than what it is now. We're very close to the beginning of where they start their care, very close to all the other facilities and all the other issues and things that we need as far as diagnostic testing, lab testing, and other things.
Question from one of our media partners: how will this new space affect the current situation with COVID and the space in our hospital?
So when we open tomorrow, it gives us a significant amount of flexibility. So when we open this facility, remember, this isn't all of it. This is just the first phase. It's the largest phase, but it's the first phase. We'll have over 100 beds available to us day one. That's on top of the emergency department opening. So we'll have the 90 some beds available to the emergency department, plus another 100 beds that we'll be able to use flexibly within the organization. Not all of them are in this building. Some of them are in some of the other areas. But as you can imagine, when you vacate areas, it opens up other things as we move along. Well, I just want to thank everybody for their time, and I really appreciate you being here with us today. This is a really, really important time for us at LVHN. We really felt like we tried the hardest we could to make this a community asset. This is your asset, and we've put it out here for you, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to be able to take care of our community as comprehensively as we possibly can. So thank you again for your time.